everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I am so excited that you have come to join me today. My name is JMarie. I'm a medium here in Richmond, Virginia, or Mechanicsville, I should say. And I would love to welcome you guys all to this because not only am I a medium, I am a mom. And that's what a lot of this podcast is going to surround us with, is how to balance that spiritual lifestyle with being a mom and just everything that we have to juggle day to day. So I welcome you to how to maintain a spiritual lifestyle, a mom's guide to not losing your shit. I myself am a mom. I have two beautiful boys, ages 13 now and 9. And, you know, I know what it's like to just have those days where really everything is going wrong and everything you try to do is to stay calm and to let your kids just be as they say. But, you know, sometimes we just can't do that. Not only are we juggling getting them to school or getting them ready or sports or cooking dinner or shopping, while all maintaining a job as well. And what a lot of moms forget is that we have to take time as well. So it's not that you have to be this overly spiritual person or be great at meditating or, you know, really having a feel or a knowing of what a spiritual lifestyle is, and that's what I am here to help you with. So, you know, as you're sitting back and listening or watching, whichever, you know, works for you, because again, some of you could be listening in the car as you're driving to that next sporting event or going to pick up a sick kid and take him to the doctors. You know, when I first became a mom, like most of us, well, I don't even want to say most of us, but some of us, you know, some of it is planned, some of it's not. I was married, I was 23, and here came this beautiful little baby. I was an only child, had no idea what I was doing, obviously. And then years later comes a second, and then I became a single mom. So, you know, there's a lot of different areas that I want to touch on as we go through these different podcasts, and it can range from being a full-time mom with a husband and children, and others, you know, going and figuring out how we can balance our lives out being a single mom while raising kids as well. Being a medium, I have found that, yes, it is something within us that we all have. So each one of you moms have that beautiful intuition that helps you to connect with your kids. It also helps you to be in tune with your kids. And it's like, you know, something bad's gonna happen. You know, for example, I was just with a friend the other day and we were talking, and out of nowhere we heard a sound, and automatically my soul goes, oh, something's about to go wrong. And sure enough, I hear screams, one child running in asking us to check on the other child, and lo and behold, my oldest had broken his wrist. Now, mind you, this is right after I had been home not even 24 hours from the hospital. So with that being said, I was sick. Thank God my friend was there, and I've got a kid with a broken wrist. Now, in that moment, most of us want to cry. At least I did. The other part of us wants to scream and just kind of say, like, why? Why did you have to fly down the driveway that fast? You know, things of that nature. And in that moment, we sometimes begin to close down as well. And there's a lot of different points where when we are with our kids that we know the thing that we should be doing is not getting upset. But in the parallel of everything that had already happened in those couple of days, it was overwhelming. And literally, I got him up to the screened-in porch with my friend, and I just sat down and I cried. All I could do was try to figure out how I was going to get my son to the hospital when I could barely get down the steps myself. My whole point behind this is we're not perfect, we're human, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And sometimes in those moments we have to react in whatever way our mind or our body feels that we should, right? But then in those other moments, it's about taking that time after I calmed down, after my son quit screaming, and I got his arm wrapped, and my friend went home. And I took those moments to go sit in my room, just in my own silence, and I found that just closing my eyes for a minute, right? And not relating with my son, but just relating with how I reacted in that moment, right? To see why. Why did I feel that the only thing I could do was cry in that moment? I mean, obviously I hugged my son and I gave him the love that he needed in that moment, but I also was angry because, again, why would you fly down the driveway like that? And let me add to this story that he only bet his brother $1 to fly as quick as he did down the driveway. He just got his $1 the other day, and he's had his wrist in a cast for like 2.5 weeks. So it was like, I had to understand why he did what he did, but I more importantly needed to understand why my reaction was like that. So my reaction wasn't like that just because my son broke his wrist. My reaction was like that because I was already stressed. I was tired. I still was not feeling good as I had been sick for weeks up to this point. There was so many different emotions going on within me that I wasn't able to process because of what I was going through, that when my son had that ordeal, it triggered that blockage that I had kind of obtained in those couple of weeks, and it just triggered it to activate it because it added to it. So when we are reacting to our children, it's really not always because of something they did, and we think it's, oh, well, they should have listened or they should have done this, but in reality, it's us, the parent, who's already got so much on their plate and the frustration has hit, or maybe we had a fight with our spouse, or maybe work's not going so well and we've got to be present for these little humans. So again, we stuff and we push things down and we try to just be, present. With all of this being said, it's about, as a mom or a dad, I do need to bring dads into this, or grandparents, or whoever is a role model or somebody who does take care of children. I want to include all of you. But realistically, we need to take time. The morning starts at 6 o'clock for a lot of us, sometimes even before that. And before we even get out of bed, the first thing we normally do is we open our eyes and we think, oh my gosh, what is all of my list today, right? Like, what is it that we have to get done today? So before we get out of bed, we haven't even really taken time for ourselves. Now, hopefully you do stretch a little bit or maybe, give yourself a great big hug, but I would say probably more times than most we don't. We automatically open our eyes and it's time to get going, right? So now we're waking up to alarms, we're waking children up, we're getting everybody ready, right? And again, this day gets going and it goes fast. And then we get everything done on our list, but say 1 or 2, because who are we kidding? Most days we don't get everything done that we want. We feel like we have to, but in reality, we don't. That is what I have learned in the last month, is that not everything has to get done when we think it does. It doesn't have to get done all in that moment, right? But what I also learned over a longer period of time is that it's okay to take time for us. Being a single mom, I felt like I had to be present for my kids all the time. I had to make sure everything was perfect for them. And then I realized that was crazy. That when I first woke up, I didn't need to wake anybody up. Or if I did and I got them up, they were able to, at a certain point, to be able to do their own teeth or do their own hair, or, I made sure lunches were prepackaged the day before, or maybe I was able just to pour a bowl of cereal and be able to walk away. Over the course of these podcasts, I want to give you tips and tools of how to take back a little bit of you. One thing that I was told after my divorce to my children's father is I lost me. It was that I didn't know who I was anymore. And when somebody said that to me, I actually was taken back, and I was like, no, I know who I am. I'm a mom, I'm Janet, I'm this, I'm that, right? But then I realized I didn't, because my life revolved around my kids. I've watched several friends and acquaintances whose kids are off to college now, and they have no idea what to do with themselves. They're not only lost, they've lost a little bit of their spark, because when I say, what have you done for yourself lately? Or, what are you re-enjoying? They kind of look at me like I'm crazy, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are those things, you used to love to do? And I get a lot of clients that come in after their children have gone off, or just in transition in life, where they're like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what that me is anymore. And I want to help you guys to, know what it's like to keep yourself and maintain it as you go along. As many of you have probably seen on my cover to my podcast, it's me, 2 children. Thank gosh, my youngest never drew on the walls. But then I also have 3 dogs. So I know what it's like to juggle, but I also know what it's like to take time for myself. Now, some of the things that I do want to talk about are meditation, or tuning into self, or healing from the past, and all these different variances that I do feel go along with not only raising kids, but being able to, if you will, heal ourselves so that we can also break habits for our children in the future. It's very important to know that a lot of what we carry, as we know, most of us, when we act in anger, our children pick those things up. If we act in more of a scared manner, they become scared of it. All these different tips and tools, or when they see us go through divorces or job changes or whatever else it may be, they start to see different patterns. Now, I'm not saying that anything that we experience or we do is wrong. What I'm saying is, let's figure out how to help our children to be sometimes better than we've been able to. You know, breaking family patterns, if you will, or just in themselves seeing mom or dad or guardian, you know, being able to be in tune with themselves, following the lead of how to take time and be present for themselves. So maintaining a spiritual lifestyle doesn't mean that you have to believe in anything that I believe in. I mean, I myself am going to be speaking of, you know, God, or what I say as spirit is my spirit team, meaning my loved ones that are on spirit, my guides, my mentors, you know, my mom, loved ones that I really trust are looking over me and my kids. Being a medium does not mean I can read my kids' minds by any means, but it's just like with any of you all. You know, when you know your kid's lying, you know your kid's lying. People are always like, you must be able to pick it up differently. Nope, we're all the same. We just got to tune in. And for some of you that may feel disconnected from your kids, I will be bringing forth different things for you to be able to use with them, which will help you to not just attune yourself with them, but be able to understand them in a different way. Because yeah, we are, like I said, human beings, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So all these different times that you are connecting with your kids, or you have these memories that you may not remember, or you just can sense them far away. Not all of those are in the present. Some of those are from lifetimes before that the two of you have had and you're just reminiscing on. There's different parts of you as you go with your children that you will come to see, wow, we've been here before. It's like I've had even parents say, like, I have a different connection with my one kid, but my other one, you know, we struggle. It doesn't mean that you guys are meant to struggle forever. What it means is that you guys might have some work to still do from the past, things that you may not have learned in lifetimes before. Now, I know some of you are like, what could that even possibly mean? And what is she talking about as far as lifetimes? I believe that we keep coming back to get it right. I can share a really awesome, I think it's an awesome story. My oldest Christian, he's a different soul. I remember when I was pregnant with him, I used to have, tons of dreams of this child being kidnapped at a carnival. It took me, I would say probably like 2 or 3 dreams to really understand that it was a carnival, because what I would see is my child being kidnapped or being taken from me, and up on the hill, I would see red and white tents. And after I went on, I was like, oh my gosh, those are carnival tents. And when I say I saw, in these dreams, I remember quite a few of them very specifically. One, he was floating down a river on like this board with somebody, and I could not get to him. There was no way I could jump in the water and get to him. I had another one where I saw his face smashed against the back of this golden tan looking old, kind of like Cutlass Oldsmobile car. And I couldn't get to him, and I was running as fast as I could down this road to get to him, dust flying up. All these different experiences, again, where they were repetitive. I kept seeing that same carnival theme. As my child was young, just like any kids, well, most kids, they don't like people in costume. I mean, my youngest didn't mind clowns and things of that nature, but my oldest, he wouldn't go anywhere near anybody with a mask. But what I noticed even more is that he wouldn't go near, he never wanted his face painted, he never wanted clowns, anything like that. And I don't know if you guys have heard of or seen the movie Goosebumps, the first new one with Jack Black. And I remember we were watching it, and we're all into it. We're sitting on my bed, and there's a part in that movie where a clown comes up, and I have never seen my child as scared as he was in that moment. Now, again, mind you, at this age, he's probably about like 8 or 9. And when he did this, I just kind of sat back and I was like, are you okay? And he was like, I don't like clowns, Mom. And he's like profusely crying, and it clicked. In that moment, of knowing and seeing that this kid was terrified of clowns. It clicked back to when I was pregnant with him and seeing that moment of him being kidnapped in the carnivals and just that sensory of, the fairs or things of that nature. And when it all played out, I was like, oh my gosh. It was like I had been viewing our past life before this child was even brought into this world. So again, when you have these moments with your kids where it clicks, honor that. Honor everything you do with your children. But like I said, more importantly, as we are honoring, we're going to learn. We're going to learn, we're going to tune in. We're going to see what we need to become better parents, what we need and what we can do for our children for them to become even better little humans. And sorry if I call them little humans and it bugs anybody, but that's what I call mine. We're going to talk about what it's like to go through a breakup and having to heal while, again, still being present for ourselves and everybody else. One thing that I would love for you to take from this first podcast is just kind of reminiscing. Think back with, your children being born or your children being young. And see if you can find any of those little nuances, like I was saying. With my youngest, I don't have those same kind of stories, but there's a different connection between me and him. He's very empathic. This child can feel when I'm hurting. He can feel when I'm sad. The kid can know when I'm lying, and he's 9. Or maybe I shouldn't say lying, but withholding the truth from him. And there's a different connection with him. He's an older, wiser soul, and I learn a lot from him. One of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me was, Mom, I think you should stop, breathe, and think. And in saying that, it's kind of like, I really don't like you right now, but at the same token, I'm going to take that advice because it's probably some of the best advice I need right now. So, when your kids are speaking back to you, remember that soul was prevalent and aware of you long before you were. So they do know some things. And I know with yesterday being, at least here in Virginia, or maybe I shouldn't even say Virginia, but in our area here in Richmond and Mechanicsville, school just started. And there was a mom that somebody actually told me about this story. I want to give credit to her. But she told me that on the radio, this mom called in and she was ecstatic that her kids were off to school. She was like, I'm so glad those little brats are gone now. And the radio station got a lot of calls that was not so nice about this mom and how dare she talk about her children like that, or, why would she say things like that? We all have our breaking point. We all have those moments. Now, I'm not defending the comment about the brats, but I'm defending the point of this mom being excited. I can tell you I walked out after dropping my oldest off at middle school. I walked out and I was like, why am I feeling so free right now? And I called a friend and I was like, am I wrong for feeling so free and kind of wonderful that they're both in school? And just like I knew she would, and just as I felt it myself, no. Because that was my time to come back and see, like, what has the summer done, right? Go through the things that might not have gone so well. Go through and really divulge in my soul, like, what went well? And being able to kind of see, is there anything I need to let go of from the summer that I didn't get a chance to work on? Because, during the summer, we're hustling, we're bustling, we're going at 20 million different directions. We're juggling work, we're trying to plan vacations, we're trying to keep kids from killing each other and getting them preoccupied into classes or summer camp or just everything, right? So in dropping my child off, I did go home, and I had a little bit before I had to go in with clients, and I just sat down and enjoyed the silence. I even closed my eyes for a few minutes, like sitting up, of course, because I would have gone back to sleep, waking up at 6 a.m. For the first time in 3 months. And I just sat down, and it was like, man, this summer sucked. I would have loved to say, like, it was amazing, but this summer sucked. And I realized in those moments that as I'm getting ready to go into the school year, and I'm getting ready to go into the next parts of, just life, that I need to clear from this summer. There's a point that I need to go back and I need to go through these emotional stages that I did have and make sure there's no blockages within me. Because, when we have to be present for our kids and work, as far as school season goes and juggling, it's a lot. We could get home at 5, 6 o'clock at night, sometimes 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock if they have, sports and things of that nature. Then we got to make sure that they've eaten. And then we got to make sure that our stuff's in. And then we got to make sure, and the list just goes on. I could bore you all day with the lists. But I don't want to take in any anger or sadness going in, because as we know, that first trigger is going to be when our child gets a bad grade. Or the second trigger could be when they forget to bring their homework home. Or when they don't turn it in after we've worked countless hours helping them, right? There's all these different triggers. We do not want to put on our children what we're holding in. We, again, want to be that good kind of role model. And we're not perfect, but we want to be our best us, right? And in being our best us, the only thing that we can do for ourselves is be present for ourselves first. Because if we are not whole, we cannot, by any stretch, give anything to anybody except for on fumes. And when we are on fumes, as we all know, we're gonna burn out. And are we gonna burn out? We're gonna fizzle. Then we're gonna probably catch on fire, and we're gonna blow up. And when we blow up, the only people that get that are our kids. So as we go along, like I said in these podcasts, we're gonna work through that. And I know for myself right now, and I feel that there's quite a few of you that are listening, that you need to go back through the summer and just check the pieces that were broken. Check those parts, like I said, that did not go as great, that did not go as wonderful, and let's go back and kind of work through those. Let's look at why they happened. Let's, again, honor how we felt in that moment and go in and see how we feel now. If there's something still itching or, kind of boiling within or hurting in any way, shape, or form, we need to go ahead and work through those. Whether we write it down, whether we have a talk with ourselves, spiritually, internally, externally, however you feel you want to process it. So take a few moments until the next time we meet and really go in and see what is it that we can heal, so that in the next stages, we can not only purge the past, but we can continue to bring everything into the future that we need, right? And as we get better, so does our kids, our relationships with them, our laughter, our enjoyment of everything that we get to do on a day-to-day basis just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. So until the next time we meet, try not to lose your shit. Take some moments to yourself, and I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to the next time. I'm JMarie. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.